What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're finally here with This Week at Bungie, or Bungie are finally here should I say, with a slightly late update dropping today, but we do have some pretty cool information right here. So Bungie talk about Mayhem, they talk about Crimson Days very briefly, some stuff to know about as we go into next week's update, of course the January 29th update, we've got some Sandbox stuff, some other changes in the game to break down in this video, and on top of this Bungie talk about Season of the Drifter, power leveling, and some changes that are going to happen between kind of season boundaries. And then we've got a couple of other things to round up in this video guys, so as always, I hope you do enjoy this one, but without further delay, let's jump straight into it. So getting straight into the update, Bungie say, next week your super abilities are up for a shakeup, and update 2.1.4 has a lot of different fixes in it, but the crux of it will be buffing a large amount of supers to make them more powerful. We'll talk about some of those changes that we'll see in next week's update in just a moment. But of course, alongside all of the Sandbox stuff that we're going to see, Bungie say, with all of these new super changes, we figured you'd be eager to jump in and try them out. What's the best mode for showcasing them? And of course, it's Mayhem, so that begins January 29th and runs up until February 5th. And once again, we'll talk more about the changes that we're going to see in next week's update in a couple of moments' time. But here, Bungie talk about Crimson Days, so of course this is the Valentine's event in the game, and they say Crimson Days is coming soon. It was originally scheduled to start on February 5th, but that date is being shifted slightly. Grab your partner and get ready for action and rewards, beginning on February 12th, 2019. So Crimson Days will start on the 12th, and it's going to run up to February 19th. And Bungie say, if you missed out on Crimson Days last year, or didn't get everything you wanted, you're in luck. This is your chance to get the rewards exclusive to this event. The event is very similar to last year, but we've added a few new rewards and ways of obtaining them. We'll give you the full details closer to the special day. So pretty interesting right there. If you did miss out on the stuff from last year, then it is still going to be featured inside your Crimson Days. It sounds like it's going to be somewhat similar, and as Bungie say, there will be a few new rewards kind of littered throughout that event. So we'll have to wait for a full reveal from Bungie, of course, before we draw any conclusions, but let me know if Crimson Days and potentially Crimson Doubles is something you're excited to jump back into, once again starting on February 12th. Of course, I'll keep you posted with that one. But next, Bungie talk about Season of the Drifter. So they say, we're making a slight change to the way bounties grant powerful rewards. To ensure an even playing field each time we kick off a new season, bounties acquired during previous seasons will have a maximum possible power reward, and this change up is intended to prevent players from feeling the need to hoard bounties and raid keys that grant powerful rewards until the power cap is raised, in an attempt to get a leg up in a push towards the new power cap. So this is a change that DMG suggested could happen a few weeks back. Bungie give an example of this, so a player has completed the Wanted Silent Fang bounty during Season of the Forge, but has not yet claimed the reward. If they claim this reward after Season of the Drifter has begun, the reward will have a maximum power of 650. If they instead acquire this bounty after Season of the Drifter has started, the reward will have a maximum power of 700, and the cap is applied to bounties on acquisition. So there we go, you can't carry powerful bounties between seasons, so that will include things like the Iron Banner bounties, which of course players hoarded loads of last time around. That is no longer going to be a thing. Just to point out though, Bungie do tell us 700 power of course is the new maximum power inside of Season of the Drifter, but they add on the subject of bounties going between the two season boundaries, that completed bounties have no mechanism to dismantle, so keeping completed bounties could negatively affect players for the first week of a new season. By holding on to the old bounties, this locks players out of an uncapped bounty that could become available at the start of a new season. So basically what they're saying is don't carry them over, because you could miss out on powerful gear inside of that first couple of weeks. They also say, we're looking to address stockpiles of raid keys as well, and we're currently finalizing details, and we'll give additional information when available. So just a quick breakdown of some changes we're going to see to power leveling as we go between the two seasons. Let me know your thoughts about those down below. I guess it definitely makes sense for Bungie to do that, although presumably we will get new ways to earn powerful gear inside of the update, and of course this season we still have access to all of the stuff from Forsaken as well, so there should be more ways to get power in Season of the Drifter than what we've had up until now. Up next though, Bungie tell us a couple of new bits that are going to be included in next Tuesday's update 2.1.4. So for the Retrex's Broadsword quest, the Valor rank reset step will now look at your previous season's accomplishments as well. 5 Valor resets are still required during a single season, but this is no longer restricted to the current season. Example, if a player had 5 Valor resets in Season 4, this will now grant progress towards that quest. So essentially it will retroactively remember that quest progress from previous seasons, and they also fixed an issue where the quest wasn't progressing to the pickup screen until a player re-entered orbit. They've also fixed the problem which prevented enhancement cores from being awarded when reaching Legend in Valor and Glory ranks. And for grenade launchers, we've got a couple of additional changes. They've tweaked grenade launcher projectiles to feel more consistent on direct hits, and proximity grenades can no longer impact directly, so it prevents special ammo grenade launchers from one-shotting with the perk active. So that's pretty interesting. On top of this, they've increased ammo reserve size for special ammo grenade launchers, and increased the initial spawn ammo inside of PvE content for special ammo grenade launchers as well. So those are just a few of the changes right there, guys. They also confirmed that the buggy like a diamond triumph should be fixed after the update. The always on time sparrow from the Scourge of the Past will be able to be reclaimed from collections, and you can see some other specific changes right there. So guys, in just a moment we're going to break down all of the other Sandbox changes that we currently know about, and all of these are coming next week on the 29th, but Bungie of course do say that we haven't even covered the hand cannon shaped elephant in the room, along with everything else we've talked about. Next week is also when you'll be sent out on a quest to claim the last word. Of course that'll be pretty interesting. I'll be sure to keep you guys posted on that next week. But let me know your thoughts about Mayhem returning, any speculation about Crimson Days, or some of the other quality of life changes that we're getting next week. Now though, let's round up some of the other stuff we can expect to see in terms of Sandbox inside of the January 29th update. On top of what Bungie broke down today, there are a bunch of other weapon changes, subclass changes, and general balancing adjustments for the game. So in case you've missed out on some of that stuff previously, let's break it down right here. Firstly, for weapons, with auto rifles, damage is being increased for rapid fire, adaptive, and high impact auto rifles. That'll affect quite a few different weapons. Bungie say we find that auto rifles are a little unforgiving for ranges that they ask you to occupy in a world with special weapons, and as a result we're increasing the damage to offset the higher risk. On top of this though, they are increasing damage for scout rifles in the lightweight frame and rapid fire families, as well as an increase to all scout rifle damage inside of PvE contents. That definitely sounds positive. Of course, scout rifles need a little bit of love in general in the game right now, so hopefully these changes will be pretty good. But then finally for sniper rifles, they're increasing the damage on the rapid fire archetype, and it will be able to kill with 2 body shots inside of PvP. We'll have to wait for patch notes to break down exactly how that'll affect PvE and PvP content separately. But on top of this, Bungie did speak about exotic adjustments, so they are increasing the damage and increasing the range slightly for the Legend of Acreus, so that's going to be pretty good. Of course, the Telesto that's been reigning supreme in the Crucible for a little while, or at least is a little bit strong still, is finally going to have some changes. So they've increased the zoom inside of the optics, so that's basically the scope zoom. They're also reducing the PvP damage to match the charge rate for the weapon, so basically it'll be closer in line to other fusion rifles in that class, and it should make it less potent, especially in PvP, hopefully without hurting it too much in PvE. Of course though, they're increasing the minimum amount of ammo that you can receive from special ammo boxes with trace rifles, so that should help in the Crucible, but according to Bungie, it will also improve the drop rate of ammo inside of PvE bricks. And it also looks like the Wave Splitter is going to have some kind of damage reduction to bring it closer to other trace rifles, especially considering some of the ammo changes right there. On top of this though, of course, there are subclass changes that we're going to see. For the Golden Gun, 6 shooter kills will return a bullet, and Practice Makes Perfect super regen has been increased. For Blade Barrage, the damage is now heavily weighted on the delayed explosion instead of the knife impact. And Blade Barrage will also deal self-damage, so be careful firing Blade Barrages on targets that are super close, and they're also fixing a bug where the knives would actually track allies. For Night Stalker's Mobius Quiver, entire damage bonus is applied on the first hit instead of stacking and multiplying. They've increased the tether radius and lifetime and made it easier to fire successive tethers, so essentially it should be more lethal and more effective in general. But then for the Spectral Blades, damage resistance in stealth has been decreased, and the duration of super while invisible has also been slightly decreased. But finally for the Arc Strider, super damage is now more heavily weighted towards the heavy palm strike attack. No attack damage has been reduced, but much of the added damage for the super has gone into the heavy attack. On top of this, the lethal current bonus damage has been increased. For Titans though, they're looking to make some of the different Sunbreaker classes more appealing, so for Sunspots, they've doubled the damage of the burn on enemies. For Sun Warrior, the buff length has been increased from 3 to 5 seconds, and it also now increases all outgoing damage. Burning Maul has had its slam radius increased, and Slamfire Tornado has improved homing. But then for the Sentinel, super damage is more heavily weighted on the heavy shield attack. No damage was reduced, but much of the added damage for the super went into the heavy attack once again. And then for the Striker, for Terminal Velocity, there are now 3 tiers of hang time. The amount of hang time for each tier has been reworked. Each tier of hang time now causes 4 damage shocks instead of 3, and the damage for hang time bonuses has been increased significantly. So that sounds really positive, especially for PvE content it could be pretty good. But the light shoulder attack super cost has been reduced by minus 85% for Trample, and Trample can now trigger every 0.5 seconds, up from every 1 second. Then finally we do get a few changes for the Warlock. For the Dawnblade, super duration has been increased, so no other negative changes there. And then for Voidwalker Cataclysm, they've increased the detonation radius. Cluster damage has been increased. They've improved Cluster Bomb homing to make it more consistent against single targets, and cluster bombs no longer detonate one another. For Vortex, linger damage has been increased significantly, and then for Nova Warp, finally, slower movement while charging costs more energy, and overall damage is reduced. Damage resistance has been reduced very slightly, and there is PvP damage reduction, so charge detonation will no longer be able to one-shot another player in their super, provided it has damage resistance. Finally, for the Stormcaller Storm Trance, they've increased the number of targets for Chain Lightning by 1. So on the whole, these sound like really good changes for subclasses. Obviously, there are some balancing changes there that make some subclasses less potent in certain content, but on the whole, I'm especially excited for some of the PvE stuff here. Looks like there could be good reasons to actually switch up subclasses for a change, and it'll be interesting to see how PvP adjusts here as well, especially considering some of the weapon changes, and even the introduction of things like the Last Word in the game, which a lot of players are going to get access to. I'm sure it's going to be all over the Crucible if it turns out to be, relatively good. Bungie did confirm though, on the subject of the Golden Gun changes, there has been a bug where players can exploit infinite Golden Gun, and DMG did confirm that this will be fixed alongside the Golden Gun change, so for any folks curious about that one, it should no longer be an issue. So there we go guys, a bit of a long breakdown right there, but that summarizes more or less everything about the January update apart from what we'll get in the patch notes next week, alongside possibly more specific numbers about what has actually changed in the Sandbox. So I'll keep you guys posted with that, as well as the Last Word quest, and any other cool content that we get. In case you missed my most recent video, we did get a few new words about Jokers Wild and Gambit, some of the content we can expect to see, and that was from a pretty cool interview with Crucible Radio, so I'll link that video below, you can check it out if you missed it. But for now guys, thanks a bunch for tuning in, let me know your thoughts on any of the changes down below. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe to see a lot more D2 content, but for now, whatever you guys get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.